so many people have kindly read and bought the book, I have a totally different life now.
Tara Westover's memoir spent a record 135 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. It has garnered praise from Oprah, Bill Gates, and President Barack Obama. It's called Educated, an ironic title for a girl who grew up without a mainstream education.
I didn't know what college was. I didn't even know what education was.
At the age of 17, Tara walked into a classroom for the first time in her life.
And what was it like to step inside the walls of an institution? Like when you've been told that you should fear it.
I was terrified, and I was also pretty weird. Like, honestly, I hadn't gone to school. I didn't dress like the other kids. I raised my hand one of my first classes and asked what the Holocaust was. I had not heard of it, and I'd never heard of the Civil Rights Movement.
So you learned about these major world events, but what did you learn about yourself during that time?
I think I was learning that there were different ways to see the world. And I think this is true for everybody, but it was really true for me, because I grew up in a family that was a little bit more closed off.
Tara was raised in the mountains of Idaho by survivalist parents and spent her days working in her father's junkyard.
I was the youngest of 7 children. My dad just didn't believe in a lot of the things that most people would take for granted. So we weren't allowed to go to school because he was a little bit paranoid about the government, and he didn't believe in what he called the medical establishment, so we didn't go to the doctor. Everything was treated at home by my mother, who was an herbalist. And, we were born at home. We didn't have a birth certificate till I was 9.
Tara never went to high school, but eventually left her family home and went on to attend 2 of the most prestigious universities in the world, Harvard and Cambridge.
I grew up in a family where feminism was kind of a cuss word. Like, you weren't supposed to say it, you might turn into one. And so I didn't encounter feminism, till Cambridge. I remember sitting across and having coffee with these 2 women. I'd never had coffee before because they're Mormon, and they were talking about, and they were very obviously feminists. And I was like looking at, people behind glass, and then thinking, this doesn't actually seem that crazy, and realizing I can think differently.
She received her PhD and worked up the courage to tell her story.
When you first left, you wouldn't really talk about what your childhood was like. It was sort of a secret that you kept really close. So to write it down, even for yourself, must have felt like the bravest thing possible.
I ended up becoming estranged from some of my members of my family, and it was about my brother. I had this older brother who was violent, and once that happened, I think it's really easy to feel like you're the only person that's in this kind of situation, the kind of situation where you love someone, but that love ends up hurting you. And it was one of the things that surprised me about publishing the book was how many people I heard from. I received thousands of letters from a lot of different kinds of people.
Since her book was released, she is still estranged from some of her family members, but she has managed to find a new kind of love and a life she never dreamed possible.
I'm with someone now. We've been together about a year. I had to really learn how to allow myself to be with someone who likes me.
When you think about that little girl that grew up in the mountains of Idaho, could she ever have even imagined that this is what her life would look like?
No. No, not remotely. I don't think I knew New York was a real place, or London. I remember I read the Harry Potter books when I was a teenager, and I thought London was made up as much as Hogwarts.
And perhaps the greatest lesson Tara has learned since leaving her old life behind, education comes far beyond the walls of a classroom.
There's something about your actual education, which you'd had, but also the education inside yourself that empowered you.
Just realizing there's a choice that I can make here. I can stay and I can embed myself further in this, or I can find out what else is possible, what other kinds of lives and relationships and friends, there's people out there that are different than they are here. And that was education for me.
Oh, she is just so incredible. I know. Her book will change you. I hope everybody will read it. And to pick up a copy of Tara's book, Educated, head to today.com/shop.